Hello students, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Yes guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, this is the last thing we have done in second group elements. Okay, can you hear me now? Hello students, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is the last thing we have done. Calcium hydroxide preparation. Calcium hydroxide is also called as slaked lime. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
We
sir.
can.
Thank you. So calcium hydroxide or slaked lime, it is calcium hydroxide, CaOH2. It's a preparation method. Just calcium oxide, quick lime on reaction with water, calcium hydroxide formation takes place. Let's have a quick look at the last class. Of second group only we'll discuss. Yeah. Can you see here? Yes. These are the group elements, alkaline earth metals, nothing but alkaline earth metals. So beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, and radium. Okay. And their oxides and hydroxide atomic radius increases. Next to ionization enthalpies. Comparison with the first group always. Hydration energy is more for beryllium compared to barium. And their physical properties here and the flame test, they have characteristic colors. The first two does not give positive flame test. Reason that electron excitation is tough due to the small size of the atom. Nuclear force of attraction is more in the valency, so it will not
Sir, screen
give you
zoom
flame
in, sir.
test. Next, chemical properties, reaction with atmospheric air and moisture.
Sir, screen
Here-
zoom in, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Screen is a little bit zoomed.
Beryllium and magnesium, they are does not reacts with oxygen at room temperature, but on ignition, but giving more temperatures, they form oxides and nitrides. Next, formation of halides, the best method is direct addition. But for beryllium fluoride preparation method is thermal decomposition of ammonium beryllium tetrafluoride is the best method of preparation of BeF2. Other halides you can prepare from direct mixing of halogen with the metal atom. BeCl2 best method is this. beryllium oxide, carbon, and chlorine. That gives you beryllium chloride and carbon monoxide. You have to remove it immediately. Reason, according to Lee-Charles principle, if you want to make a forward reaction every time, as soon as the products are forming, you have to remove them. If reaction with hydrogen, metal hydrates they are forming. BeH2 is prepared from, normal method is this, magnesium on reaction with hydrogen. Here you can see they form magnesium hydride, but BeH2 preparation method from a strong reducing agent, lithium aluminum hydride, we'll get BeH2. Next, on reaction with acids, they liberate hydrogen gas. That is a common feature. Next, on reaction with liquid ammonia, they form deep blue black color solution. And their uses here, milk of magnesia. What is milk of magnesia? Magnesium hydroxide on reaction on mixed with water. This one is called milk of magnesia, used as an antacid. Next, their characteristics of alkaline earth metal compounds. Mostly they were beryllium and magnesium due to their small sizes. They form more covalent character. Next, oxides and hydroxides. Their solubility, thermal stability, basic nature increases down the group. Beryllium hydroxide and beryllium oxide. These two are amphoteric in nature. This year mains question. These two, beryllium hydroxide and beryllium oxide, are amphoteric in nature. They react with both acids and bases. Here is an example. Berylate ion they are forming, and it is having sp3 tetrahedral geometry. Next, beryllium halide is covalent magnesium halide to barium halide. Only beryllium halide is covalent. Remaining all halides are ionic in nature. Okay, beryllium halide, beryllium chloride, that is, it forms a chain structures in the solid state, and it forms only a dimer chlorobridged compounds in the vapor state. Here it is given. The first one is in vapor state and the other one is in linear solid state structure. Next one, carbonates, sulfates, and nitrates. On decomposition, they form metal oxides and NO2, nitrogen dioxide. Their solubility, if you see, this is a very important concept. That's why I kept more number of stars here. Their solubility increases down the group. What is the main reason for that? Lattice energy decreases, hydration energy increases. And for carbonates and sulfates, solubility decreases down the group. What is the main reason for that? Lattice energy is almost constant in the group, but hydration energy decreases, so their solubility decreases down the group. Next, some anomalous behavior of beryllium because it is in diagonal relationship with the aluminum atom, right, of the next group. So here are some examples. The diagonal relationship and the consequence of diagonal relationship. They form same type of hydroxides. Okay. And they both forms a bridged compounds. Next, calcium oxide, that is also called as quicklime. It's preparation from calcium carbonate. And slaking of lime, that is addition of water that breaks the lumps of calcium oxide, that is called slaking of lime. And the soda lime reagent, you know, this is a decarboxylating agent, isn't it? Next, uses of calcium oxide. Are you listening, guys and girls?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Next, calcium hydroxide, that is slaked lime, calcium hydroxide. So aqueous, here is a basic difference between what is lime water and milk of lime. Okay. Aqueous solution of calcium hydroxide is called lime water, and a suspension of slaked lime, that is calcium hydroxide suspension particles like this in water mixed, that is called milk of lime. And here milk of lime is used in the preparation of bleaching powder. The composition is here, bleaching powder composition. Here chlorine is having two different oxidation state, -1 and +1. Why it shows +1? Because it is attached to more electronegative oxygen atom. That is the reason. Okay. And its preparation is over. Next, its uses. In today's concept, we are going to talk about another important compound of calcium, that is calcium carbonate. I think this is third one. Calcium carbonate. What is the formula of calcium carbonate? CaCO3. Calcium carbonate. Now we'll see its preparation method. It is prepared by calcium hydroxide on passing through carbon dioxide. What is calcium hydroxide? Nothing but slaked lime, right? So this slaked lime, on passing through carbon dioxide, you will get calcium carbonate and water molecule. This is first method of preparation. You also have another method of preparation, calcium chloride on reaction with sodium carbonate. You will get calcium carbonate and 2 moles of sodium chloride. Okay, this calcium carbonate is almost insoluble in water. Its properties: calcium carbonate is almost insoluble in water. It's a very strong substance. So on heating, it will undergo decomposition, does not react with water directly. On 1200 Kelvin temperature, it decomposes to, this is a decomposition reaction. It forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas effervescences. And this calcium carbonate, just note down this. This calcium carbonate also reacts with acids and the liberate carbon dioxide gas. Calcium carbonate on reaction with the HCl, it forms calcium chloride, H2O, and carbon dioxide gas liberation takes place. Just balance this. Calcium carbonate reacts with acids, right? So HCl, H2SO4, anything you can take, same type of reaction takes place. Calcium sulfate, water formation, and carbon dioxide gas expulsion. So this is on reaction with acids. First one, it decomposes on heating above 1200. Second one, reaction with acids. Okay, please note down this, take a screenshot if you want. Next, its uses we'll discuss. It is a very good, building material. It is actually present in the marble stones.
Sir, 1 minute, scroll down.
Okay, it is actually present in marble.
Excuse me,
stones.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, could you scroll down, sir?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Take screenshot, Ra. Okay, it is actually a main composition of marble stone, that is nothing but calcium carbonate. Okay, and in the extraction of iron in metallurgical process, this calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate, okay, it is used as a flux, okay. This comes in second year metallurgy topic. It is used as a flux in extraction of iron. In the iron extraction, this composition is used as a flux. Okay, it is flux is mainly added to impurity particles. Okay, I'll tell you here some impurities are nothing but gong particles. We call it as gong. This gong and flux, they will convert into a slag. If impurities removal of impurities from certain compounds, if it is tough, what we will do, direct removal, if it is not possible, we will add flux to that. That becomes easily removable slag. The slags can be easily removed. That means impurities present in a compound is removed in the form of slag. Okay, this little deep of this subject will come in the next year. Okay. Next, here this calcium carbonate precipitated form, PPT, precipitation form, it is used in the high quality paper. In the high quality paper manufacturing, calcium carbonate precipitation is used. Okay. This calcium carbonate, it is also used as a antacid, calcium carbonate, and it is used as abrasive in toothpastes. Okay, used as abrasive in toothpaste, and it is also main constituent in chewing gums. And it is also used as a filler in cosmetics. Okay, this is about calcium carbonates. It's a preparation method. See there, it's a preparation method and its chemical properties and its uses. Okay, next we'll move to another compound, that is gypsum. Please note down these things. Okay, we'll move to another concept. Fourth important compound, that is gypsum. What is the formula of gypsum? Calcium sulfate with 2 moles of water is called gypsum. Okay. But now look at this. I'll give you a chemical formula here. Calcium sulfate on with 2 moles of water is called gypsum. This gypsum, on heating above 393 kelvins, 393 Kelvin, it loses 1 mole of water molecule and it converts to calcium sulfate and water. Okay. On this further heating of this gypsum converts to calcium sulfate and half mole of water. So every time, so water molecules are losing. Okay. So in this reaction, guys, look at this. This calcium sulfate with 2 moles of water is gypsum. And this calcium sulfate with half mole of water, this is called plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris, it is commercially highly important compound. Okay. It is POP. What is the formula of POP? Calcium sulfate with hemihydrate. So we also call it as hemihydrate of, hemi means half. Are you listening, girls?
Yes, sir.
Hemihydrate of calcium sulfate. So it is a highly important compound. On further reaction of this calcium sulfate with a hemihydrate, on further heating, it also loses that another half mole of water molecule. It is called only simple calcium sulfate. This is also called as, it is a dead gypsum, or sometimes it is also called as dead burnt plaster. I mean, 2 names. Both the compositions are same. Okay. Calcium sulfate without water molecules is called dead gypsum or dead burnt plaster. Okay, it is commercially highly important. So what is the uses of this? So calcium sulfate. Okay, now done these things. I'll talk about uses. So these uses of POP only I'm writing. This is highly commercially important point. This is also. It is mainly used in building industry. In buildings for fall ceiling, right? Fall ceiling designs.
Yes, sir.
All are made up of POP, plaster of Paris. Next, it is also used as a setting polymer. It is in okay in medical field. If bones are cracked or bone fracture is taking place, then this POP is applied on the bones. Within 10 to 15 minutes, it become a hard solid. Okay, so it is used for setting bone setting purpose. Bone setting purpose. So any fractures happened, then this is used. It is also used in the filling of tooth decays, that is called as dentistry. Okay, tooth decay filling material. It is also used as POP, and it is also used in the manufacturing of statues. Okay, so these are the uses of plaster of Paris. Okay, plaster of Paris. What is the formula? Calcium sulfate with half mole of water is called plaster of Paris. It is hemihydrate of calcium sulfate. Next one, take a screenshot of this. Next one is cement. I will talk about cement. What is cement? This cement is also called as Portland cement. This cement is also called as Portland cement. Both are same. And the average composition of this Portland cement is, it's a composition I am writing. So number of molecules, different compositions are present in this. So the composition of this Portland cement is, they have different compounds: calcium oxide, silicon dioxide, Al2O3, magnesium oxide. Okay, and Fe2O3. These many compounds are present in the cement, and sulfur trioxide. And their composition, you don't need to remember, just try to understand these many compounds. All of them are oxides, oxides of calcium, silicon, aluminum, magnesium, iron, and sulfur. So these elements and their oxides composition is present. Okay, so this composition, this total is equal to 100%. This calcium oxide is majorly present in this. 50 to 60% of calcium oxide is present, and silicon dioxide, that is sand, 20 to 25%. So almost 85% is over. Remaining all are less amounts, like 5 to 10% this one. And magnesium oxide is 2 to 3%. Iron oxide is 1 to 2%. And sulfur trioxide is 1 to 2%. You don't need to remember this. percentages. Okay, just try to remember their oxides, the different oxides of metals. Okay, metals and non-metals all are present in this. This is Portland cement composition. Okay, next one, to maintain a good quality of cement. Okay, so here is a special point for good quality cement. Okay, the ratio must be silica to alumina, Al2O3. The ratio should be in between 2.5 to 4. This ratio you have to maintain. Look at this silicon dioxide, SiO2 and Al2O3. So here 20 to 5 means what is the ratio? You can see here 1:4, right? Or 4:1. Okay, that is a good quality cement. If the ratio is in between this, that means it is 4, it is maintained here in this. So this is how, if the ratio is maintained in this range, that is called a good quality cement. This is how quality check of cement is done. Okay, next, not only silica and alumina ratio, and ratio of calcium oxide to total oxides of silicon, that is silicon dioxide and aluminum oxides, Al2O3 and Fe2O3, their ratio is maintained with this one and this all ratio together. So maintained at 2, almost 2, 1:2 type, like that. Okay, if they maintain this kind of ratio, that becomes a good quality cement. That is a Portland cement. Okay, another important point in this is there is another point that is called cement clinker. What is mean by cement clinker? The cement clinker is nothing but when clay and lime, okay, they are strongly heated and fused together. Okay, this composition is called cement clinker. Clay and lime, that is strong heating, they become fused together. Okay, that composition is called cement clinker. Okay, this cement clinker now is mixed with 2 to 3% of, this is 2 to 3% weight by weight percent of gypsum. To form cement. Okay, so this is cement clinker and it's a further compound. It is converting into cement on reaction with or on mixed with gypsum. How much? 2 to 3% of weight by weight ratio. This much you have to maintain. 2 to 3% gypsum when added with the cement clinker, that is also forms cement. Okay. This is enough about cement, and that is also called as Portland cement. It is having majorly, what is the highest composition in Portland cement?
Calcium oxide.
This is the highest composition. Highest calcium oxide is having highest percentage. At least remember this. Remaining all silicon, aluminum, magnesium oxides are low percentage. Next one. Okay. Next one is their biological. These cements, all types of cements are used in construction, bridges, dams, and building construction purpose. Okay. So here sometimes they will add why gypsum is added. Okay, after applying cement or onto the bricks or on construction materials. Okay, what happens after taking some time? They become very hard, right? Okay, in that process we will add gypsum to that. What is the purpose of adding gypsum? If the question is asked like this, the purpose of adding gypsum is to slow down the process of setting, slow down the process of that setting time becomes slows down. Then what happens? They become sufficiently get hardens. That is the reason. Slow process. Okay, setting time will be increases. Then what happens? The cement setting will be properly oriented and sufficiently hardens. So it is what is the reason for the addition of gypsum? It slow downs. Addition of gypsum slow downs the process of setting of the cement, setting of the cement, so that it gets sufficiently hardened. Okay, that is the reason why gypsum is added to cements. Very important point this is. Okay, next one, their biological importance. Biological importance of group elements. So if you take your body, an adult body, okay, in an average adult, this 25 grams of magnesium is present and 1200 grams of calcium is present in an adult body. So magnesium, it is having wide variety of uses in biological processes. Almost all enzymes utilizes. Okay, all enzymes that utilizes ATP. Okay. ATP in phosphate transfer mechanism. In phosphate transfer, they require magnesium cation, magnesium plus 2 cation. They require. So this magnesium plus 2 cation acts as a cofactor here. And this magnesium is also present in plants, right? Chlorophyll. Okay. For photosynthesis, this magnesium is required and the magnesium oxidation state is plus 2 in that. And most of the magnesium, okay, okay, now I'll talk about calcium. Almost 99% of body calcium is present in the form of bones and teeth. Okay. So this is what 99%. You are having around 1200 grams of calcium. That is, most of that calcium is in the form of bones and teeth. Okay. And this calcium is having another important factor. It is also present in plasma, blood plasma. Okay. So, and this blood plasma calcium is present in blood plasma. And this blood plasma of calcium is maintained by two hormones, and their names I'm writing here. They are calcitonin and parathyroid hormone. Calcium is also present in the blood plasma. Some amount like 100 milligrams per liter. How much it is? 100 milligrams, very less. 100 milligrams per liter of calcium is present in the blood plasma. It is actually regulated by two types of hormones, and their names are calcitonin and parathyroid hormone, two hormones. Okay, just take down this biological importance of calcium and magnesium. Next, we'll move to third A group elements. Boys, are you listening?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Listening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are listening, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Start.
Excuse me, sir.
Just take a screenshot
sir.
of this. Now we'll move to 13th group elements. Okay, guys. Move to 13th group elements. Okay. Okay. Shall we start?
So 2 minutes, sir.
Thirteenth group elements. So what are the 13th group elements? Tell me.
So boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium.
Boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium, all these, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
13th group elements. Okay, let's start this. Okay, guys, listen. So I'll write all the group elements first. So 13th group elements, it is also called as boron family. Boron family, because they follows boron element, isn't it? 13th group elements is also called as third A group elements in Roman numbers. Third A group elements, right? So here the group elements I'm writing: boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, and thallium. Now their general electronic configuration, I'm going to write. What is a boron atomic number? 5. Aluminum
5,
is
sir.
13. 13
13,
plus
sir.
18, 31. 31 plus 18, 49. 49 plus 32, 81. Okay. So here boron is having which electronic configuration it will follow? Helium noble gas configuration it will follow. Helium is a 2s2 2p1. And the next one follows neon configuration, helium neon, and this is argon, and this is krypton, and the last one is xenon. 2s2 2p1. And what about the next one? 3s2 3p1, isn't it? 3s2 3p1. Next, for argon, then d orbitals will start 3d10 4s2 4p1, and here 4d10 5s2 5p1, and here F series will start 4f14 5d10 6s2 6p1. Okay. So here these are the valency electronic configuration. Look at these guys: 2s2 2p1, 3s2 3p1, 4s2 4p1, 5s2 5p1, 6s2 6p1. In these here d orbitals are entering in argon and here gallium and indium. Okay, So their shielding is very less, right? So due to this less shielding of 4F and 5D10, 4F10, 3D10, they have some abnormal behavior changes in their atomic radius. Okay, that will come later. But and you know that what is the shielding effect order? S is more than, P is greater than F, right? So the shielding effect of D and F is very less, right? So the nuclear force of attraction is so more on the valency electrons. Due to that, some abnormal behavior they will show, gallium, indium, and thallium. So what are they? We'll see later. So now, what is the general valency electronic configuration? What is the general electronic configuration here? Valency electronic configuration. They follow inert gas configuration. And what is the last one? NS2, NP1. Isn't it? NS2, NP1. Okay, guys. Now, one by one, we'll discuss. Just note down these things. So what is their general oxidation state of the group elements? In the valency, they have 3 electrons. So they can show +3 mostly. Okay. They can show +3. But as you are going down the group, okay, as going down the group from top to bottom in these group elements, what is happening due to this poor shielding of 3D10, 4D10 electrons and 5D10, 4F14 electrons, nuclear force of attraction is more on the valency electrons, right? So that's why these NS electrons does not participate in chemical bond formation. So if they does not form, if both the electrons will involve NS and NP, which oxidation state they will show? +3 oxidation state. If NS does not participate in the chemical reactions, what happens? They does not involve. They show only +1 oxidation state, right? So the property of showing +1 oxidation state is called, what is the name of that? Inert pair effect. Inert pair effect. So what is this, guys? Inert pair effect means what? The reluctant nature of, okay, or NS2 electron does not participate in chemical bond formation. That is called inert pair effect. Inert of pair of electrons. NS2, this pair of electrons, these 2 electrons does not actively participate in chemical reactions. That's why they are inert. Why this is happening? Due to the poor shielding, okay, from the inner core electrons. Poor shielding from this inner core, 3D, 4D, 4F, and 5F. Have you understood why inert pair effect takes place? Okay. So this is inert pair effect. What is inert pair effect? Okay. Reluctant nature of, or NS2 electron does not participate in chemical bond formation. So they show +1 oxidation state instead of +3 as you are going down the group. So if I'll talk about their oxidation states, okay, boron is in +3, aluminum, boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, and thallium. Now, which is more stable of all these +3 cations? Which is more stable? As you are going down the group, +1 oxidation state increases due to the inert pair effect. So boron +3 is more stable compared to thallium +3. Okay. If I'll write this inert pair effect is mostly absorbed in it's mostly starts from this gallium, indium, and thallium. So I'll take these 3, gallium +1 and indium +1 and thallium +1. Now tell me which is more stable in +1 oxidation state. Which is more stable in +1 oxidation state? No doubt thallium. As you are going down the group, inert pair effect okay, increases. The nuclear force of attraction is more on the 6s electrons, so they does not participate in chemical bond formation. So they tries to show always +1 oxidation state. Okay, there was a question previously based on inert pair effect. The question was like this.
Excuse me,
Okay,
sir.
just look at the question. Which of the following Okay,
Sir, could you
resembles
repeat the inert pair effect?
resembles with potassium hydroxide. This was a question given. Okay, your options are like this. Okay, your options are aluminum hydroxide, option B, gallium hydroxide, option C, indium hydroxide, option D, thallium hydroxide. Tell me
Sir,
which
can
one
you please
resembles
state
with
that inner pair
potassium
effect again,
hydroxide?
sir?
What is your answer, guys? Tell me what is your answer? This
B, C,
here
and D,
plus
sir.
1 and OH minus, right? So it is a plus 1 oxidation state because it is belongs to
Indium and
first year
OH.
group element. So it is more stable in plus 1 oxidation state.
So
So
can you
in
please
these
inner
four
pair
options
effect?
also you have to find which is more stable in plus 1 oxidation state. That is thallium,
Thallium,
right?
sir.
So thallium hydroxide resembles the potassium hydroxide. So they have almost the same type of nature. Okay. So now I'll move to the next concept then.
Sir, can you please
So,
repeat it?
so guys, generally what you will expect from top to bottom, atomic radius should increase, but there are some abnormalities. Okay. Look at this, guys. So the first properties I am discussing now, properties of third group elements. Say the first one is atomic radius. Guys, what you will expect atomic radius from top to bottom as the number of shells increases. Okay, as the number of shells increases, you expect that boron to thallium, atomic radius should increases. This is what you will expect, but the trend is not exactly regular. Here boron to aluminum, aluminum to gallium, gallium, indium and thallium. Okay, please don't talk. I cannot hear you properly. So just listen. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the tomorrow's class. Okay. Here, this is what you expect is boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium. This is what you will expect. But the thing is not exactly. Here, gallium atomic size is less than aluminum. This is very, very important point. What is the reason for this abnormal behavior? What is the reason? In
Introduction of
gallium, what
p
is
orbital.
happening? Look at the electron configuration. That's why I first mentioned that concept. Look at this. Gallium onwards 3D pore shielding is happening, right? Due to this 3D 10 electrons, due to the pore shielding of 3D 10 electrons, okay, nuclear force of attraction is more on the valency. So radius decreases. Okay. What is the reason for this? Due to the presence of okay, additional 10 d electrons. Addition of 10 d electrons, they offer pore shielding, right? Offer pore shielding effect or screening effect. Wait a second, guys. So due to the pore shielding effect, gallium, okay, is having low size or atomic radius than aluminum. So this is very, very important, guys. So why gallium is having less atomic radius Then aluminum. What is the reason? Due to the poor shielding from 3D. Actually speaking, that 3D10 is presented. Due to this, the atomic radius is less of it. Okay. Next one, we'll move to ionization enthalpies. Second one, is ionization enthalpy. Tell me what happens to the ionization enthalpy from top to bottom. Here, this is a special case, guys. Aluminium, gallium. What happens to the ionization enthalpy? Tell me. This ionization enthalpy is, okay, generally expected the decreases from top to bottom. Okay, ionization enthalpy should decrease from top to bottom, but this does not exactly follows. Okay, anyway, boron will have highest ionization enthalpy. Then due to the very poor shielding, here comes thallium is next highest ionization enthalpy, then gallium, and then aluminum, then indium. So this is order. It is completely abnormal order. This is boron, thallium, gallium, aluminum, and indium. And the reason is multiple reasons here, like screening effect, okay, poor shielding of, and their atomic radius also plays an important role here in the ionization enthalpy. Okay, the first ionization energy is like this. First ionization energy is like this. Okay. Now done that. Next one, we'll talk about electronegativity. Girls, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Electronegativity. So electronegativity first decreases from boron to aluminum. But if you see the electronegativity values, highest is for boron electronegativity. Generally expected from top to bottom, they should decreases, but they increases due to the atomic size changes and poor shielding. That is a sole reason for all these, okay, abnormal behavior. So electronegativity, aluminum is least of all the, 5 elements. Aluminum, then gallium, then indium, and thallium, and the highest is for boron. Okay, this is what values are showing. The electronegativity is highest, no doubt. The first element boron is having highest, and the least is aluminum. Okay, next one. What is the reason for this? The reason is due to the poor shielding or discrepancies. What is the main reason for this? Discrepancies in atomic size of the elements. Abnormal changes in the atomic volumes, atomic sizes. That affects the electronegativity of the element also. Atomic size of the elements. Are you listening? My voice is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you, sir.
Okay, guys, listen. Next one, we'll talk about physical properties. Physical properties of the order group elements. In these physical properties, here the first element is boron, right? First element is boron. First element is boron. It is non-metallic. Boron is non-metallic. It is extremely hard. Okay, and it is a solid one. It exists in many different allotropic forms, and it is a hard, solid, and crystalline compound. Okay, this boron generally exists as this B boron exists as B12. It is again icosahedral. Okay, polymer. That's what it melting and boiling points are very, very high, almost close to the diamond. That much hard it is. B12. It is a it's a big icosahedral polymer. It exists as B12. Okay. But whereas other group elements, okay, other elements like aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium, they have very low melting points. This is having high melting points, high melting point. But other group elements, have, they are very soft and having low melting point. They are not that much hard, soft and having low melting point. Here, a special compound gallium. This is also called as a summer state liquid. In summer, it exists as a liquid. In winter, it becomes a solid. So about gallium, I am going to discuss gallium. It melts in your, hand also. Okay. If you just hold this gallium in the palm, your body temperature is enough to melt it. So that's why this gallium is having a low melting point. The melting point is around 303 kelvins, and the boiling point is very high. Melting point to boiling point to the differential, if you see, it is very big number. Okay, 303 kelvins to 2676. This much high temperatures you can see only in nuclear reactors. Okay, that's what, where mercury fails to measure high temperatures. Mercury at this much high temperature, mercury evaporates. So mercury is not suitable to find the temperature in the nuclear reactors. That's what this gallium is used for the, okay, the measuring of high temperatures. Gallium is used for measuring of high temperatures. So mainly it is used in nuclear reactors. It is used in nuclear reactors. So it will not evaporate until it reaches 2676. So the range from melting point to boiling point, it is very high. So it is called as liquid range, isn't it? From over this wide range of temperature, it exists as a liquid. Okay. So here, this gallium is also called as summer state liquid. In summer, almost the temperature is beyond this 36. Okay, 298 plus 5. So nearly 32. So it is also called as summer state liquid. In summer, it is always exist as liquid. And in winter, temperatures are low comparatively, so it converts into solid. So this is specialty about your gallium element. Okay, it is called as summer state liquid. Its a melting point to boiling point, the range is very high. That's what, by taking advantage of that, we will use this to measure high temperature regions. Okay, and their density increases down the group. of physical properties in this. Okay, is this over?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is about physical properties. Next one, we'll talk about their chemical properties now. Okay, in the chemical properties, guys, listen. The chemical properties is due to the small size of boron. Okay, its ionization enthalpies are very high. Generally, this boron atom, if you talk about this boron atom, okay, its ionization enthalpy is very high. So removal of 3 electrons, that means to show +3 oxidation state. Okay. So here high ionization energies are required. So that's why +3 oxidation state of borons are less, but if they form, they mostly form due to the small size, they form covalent compounds. They form boron forms +3 oxidation state forms covalent. Like in the second group, beryllium is always, whether it is oxide, chloride, anything, they forms chlorides, covalent compounds only. So here, but aluminum onwards, they happily show +3 oxidation state. Aluminum happily shows +3 oxidation state due to the less ionization energies when compared to boron. Okay. And you know that +1 oxidation state stability increases down the group. What is the reason for that? Inert pair effect. Okay. The discussion is already over. Next here, these compounds, boron halides especially. So first one I am going to discuss about first compound of third group elements, boron halides. Boron halides. So here in boron halides, so first I'll take, suppose if I'll take BX3, where X is equal to fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Anything you can take, isn't it? Anything you can take. These boron halides, okay, or octet, completely filled octet configuration, or deficiency is there. So
Deficient.
there is deficiency of octet configuration. So around the boron atom, if you observe, there are only 6 electrons, right? So this bond is equal to 2 electrons. So total how many electrons are there? Only 6 electrons. It needs 2 more electrons to get 8 to complete octet configuration, isn't it? So that's why it accepts a pair of electrons. So due to the presence of vacant 2p orbital, which orbital is vacant in this? 2p orbital is vacant in boron atom. Okay. So this BCl3 or BF3, okay. Suppose I'm taking BCl3. They accept a lone pair from the any donor atoms to the vacant 2p orbital. So what it is going to form? So here, if you observe, nitrogen is donated a lone pair to the central boron atom, isn't it? And here earlier there are 3 chlorine atoms. Now, if you observe the structural changes of BCl3, here what is the structure of BCl3 earlier? It is a sp2 trigonal planar, isn't it? sp2 and trigonal planar geometry. But after donation of lone pair from the ammonia molecule, it is becoming tetrahedral geometry. And what is the hybridization of central boron atom now? It is changes to sp3 and its geometry is now tetrahedral. So here, the one which is donated lone pairs, we call it as Lewis acid or Lewis base.
Acid, sir.
Answer this.
Lewis
This is the
acid.
Lewis base which is accepting lone pairs that acts as Lewis acid. So now what happens to their Lewis acidic character of these boron trihalides? Let's take that. This is very, very important concept. Just take a screenshot of this concept now. Now I'll move to the next one. This is
So can
Sir,
you
can I
please
scroll
scroll
up,
up, sir?
scroll down. Okay. Okay, finished. Huh? Okay, guys. Next, I'm going to talk about boron trihalides. Same compound, boron trihalides. They are Lewis acids or Arrhenius acids. Boron trihalides are Lewis acids because they are accepting a pair of electrons. They are Lewis acids. Why they are Lewis acids? Lone pair, okay, electron pair acceptor, right? Electron pair acceptors. So now if you compare all the trihalides of boron, BF3, BCl3, BBr3, and Bi3, which is more strong Lewis acid in these four? Tell me, what is your answer? Guess. Bi3 or BF3? What is your answer? Come again.
BF.
Okay, here I am writing Lewis acidic strength. The Lewis acidic strength increases. This is very, very important. Many times appeared in the exam. Okay, what is the reason for this? Okay, let's discuss about the reason. The Lewis acidic strength from fluorides to iodides of boron increases. Okay, why? So here I'll explain. I am taking two different compounds. Say it is B, the first one, BF, and the last one is Bi3, right? The bond lengths are little higher in this because fluorine is a small size atom. Here you have on boron atom, central boron is having a vacant 2p orbital, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Here also it is having vacant 2p orbital. Okay, and fluorines will have completely filled orbitals now, isn't it? Okay, I'll take any one fluorine. Fluorine is also having a completely filled vacant 2p orbital here, and here 6p orbital in the iodine. So since they are completely filled configurations, okay, here what is this? This shows completely filled p orbital. Completely filled p orbital. Here this also completely filled p orbital. And what this blue color orbital indicates? Vacant 2p orbital, right? Vacant p orbitals. So since the boron is same in both the cases, this is vacant p orbitals. So but this vacant p orbitals is accept a pair of electrons from the completely filled F atom. They have a back donation. Look at this. Electrons are moving from completely filled fluorine orbital to vacant orbital of boron atom. So this nature is called back bonding. This back bonding is also called as dative bond, because completely filled, a pair of electrons are coming into the boron atom. So it is also called as dative bond. Now here some dative bond is there. Here also dative bond you can expect, but the donation capacity is less here. Reason, due to the large, this gap between boron and iodine. But here, due to the small size of boron and fluorine, they are very close. Back bonding is very strong in this. So shall I write like this? Back bonding is very strong. Okay, that means as you are going from BF3 to BI3, due to the bond length increasing, what happens to the back bonding in this case? Okay, back bonding is becoming very weak. Okay, so if the back bonding is strong, boron atoms are completely filled. Boron vacant 2p orbital is now happily satisfied with this back donation. The lone pairs are coming into the boron atom, right? In this. Here back bonding is weak. That means the 2p orbital is partially vacant now in this case. So it readily accepts a lone pair if someone is donating to it, isn't it? So that is a reason why BI3 is more strong Lewis acid compared to BF3. Have you understood? Have you understood this concept?
Yes, sir.
So what is the reason, guys? From left to right here increases. From left to right I am writing. Okay. Boron halogen bond length increases. Then due to that, what happens? Back bonding or back donation increases or decreases? Back donation decreases.
Decreases.
Okay, so 2p orbital emptiness increases or decreases? 2p orbital emptiness increases. So
Increases.
electron pair accepting capacity increases. That's why Lewis acidic character increases. Lewis acidic character, acidic strength increases. Have you understood now? So this is the order of Lewis acidic strength. What is the main reason for this? In BI3 is less Lewis acidic than BF3. What is the sole reason for that? Due to the pure back bonding or weak back bonding. That is the reason. Okay, understood now? Okay, guys. So this is about the boron trihalides. Here is it is started boron halides, and this is about trihalides. So boron does not form pentahalides or hexahalides due to the absence of d orbital. What happens, guys? Boron does not extend its octet, does not extend its valency more than 4. So boron maximum valency is how much? Maximum valency is 4. What is the reason? Due to the absence of d orbital. Due to the absence of d orbital. Understood? But other elements can extend octet, can extend their valency greater than 4, like aluminum. Okay, aluminum can form 6 valency also. This AlCl3, it forms a dimer. Okay, it will converting into Al2Cl6. That means it is a monomer, and this is a dimer. Let's talk something about it's a dimer, how it will form. Okay, this right, AlCl3, it is simple trigonal planar geometry structure with incomplete octet configuration, right? This dimer of Al to Cl6 structure is important, guys. Two aluminums I'm taking like this. Each aluminum is having 3 chlorines, isn't it? Say this is 3 chlorines on one aluminum. On next aluminum also 3 chlorines. And you know that this aluminum, each aluminum is having a vacant 2p orbital. And that vacant 2p orbital accept a lone pair from the chlorine atom. So a bond is forming here. So here these 2 chlorines acts as bridged chlorines. Okay. Now here this bond is made up of 2 electrons and this bond is also 2 electrons. Total we have 2 bonds, 4 electrons. So the nature of this bond, aluminum, chlorine, aluminum. What is the nature of the bond? It is a 3 center. How many? 1 aluminum, chlorine, aluminum. Total 3. 3 centered 4 electron bond. What is the nature of the bond? 3 centered 4 electron bond it is having. Okay, one is above this and one is below. This is also having 3 centered 4 electron bonding. Here this bond lengths are 206 picometers and this bridged bond length of aluminum is having 221 picometers. So which is more now, bridged aluminums or? So now I am writing here bond length order, bond lengths. Okay, we have 2 types, aluminum chlorine bonds. Okay, which is more bond length, bridged aluminum chlorine bond lengths or greater than non-bridged. Okay guys, now if you talk about hybridization changes in this structure, so when it is a monomer, what is the hybridization of aluminum? sp2. When it is a dimer, the aluminum is having 4 bonds now, 1 2 3 4. So aluminum is in sp3 hybridization and tetrahedral geometry. So this is about Al to Cl6 structure. Okay guys, have you understood this?
Yes, yes.
What
Yes,
is the
sir.
nature of the bonding of aluminum chlorine bridges? It is 3 centered 4 electron bond. It is also called as electron sufficient bond. Why it is electron sufficient bond? Why I am taking this point here is, suppose if you have one bond between A and B, how many electrons are needed? 2 electrons. If again there is a bond between B and C, you need 4 electrons. If 4 electrons are making 2 bonds, that is electron sufficient bond. So here also 4 electrons are involved anyway between these two, aluminum chlorine and chlorine and aluminum. So that is an electron sufficient bond. It is 3 centered 4 electron bond. Same type of structure is also comes from B2H6 diborane. There you will get a deficient bond. So how that forms, we'll see there. Okay, I am scrolling down this. So please take a screenshot of this. Make it fast. Okay, here this most of these are trivalent states. That means 3 valency, because they are all belongs to third group, right? So they readily undergo hydrolysis BCl3, and it simply why it undergoes hydrolysis not due to the presence of d orbital, but it extends it valency to 4, that's it, to get the octet configuration. So it will form boron hydroxide BOH 4 times minus. And here BOH 4 means like this. Again, this is having a tetrahedral geometry, right? Okay. So what is the hybridization of this boron atom, guys? So this boron atom is in sp3 tetrahedral geometry. Okay, in the same way, aluminum trihalides also undergo hydrolysis. It will form hexa-coordinated complex. Aluminum with 6 moles of water molecule with 3+ ion. Okay, guys, here aluminum is in sp, here in this case sp2 hybridization, but here 6 coordination species are there. So its structure you can see here, it forms octahedral geometry. Okay, 4 equiligands in the plane. Okay, square planar geometry. Okay, like this. And one water is above the plane, other one is below the plane. So how many bonds around the aluminum you can see here? 6 bonds. So 6 bonds means here that aluminum is having sp3d2 hybridization with octahedral geometry. Okay, guys. But here boron forms only 4 coordination complexes. How many hydroxides are around the central boron atom? There are only 4. So it forms tetrahedral. Maximum covalency is 4 only. Okay. So, but aluminum can extend its valency to 6 also. From 3 to 6 it is. You can see here 6 water molecules attached to it. Okay. This is about its reaction with water and their bond lengths. Shall we stop here today? So let's have a look at this third group elements, a quick revision. So their valency configuration is NS2 NP1. Okay. So due to the poor shielding from 3D, 4D, 4F,
So can you
and
please
they have
explain that
some abnormal
inert pair
behaviors.
effect briefly once
Due
again?
to that only they show inert pair effect. Inert pair effect is NS electron does not participate in chemical reaction. So they show only +1 oxidation state. Okay, +1 oxidation state stability increases down the group and +3 decreases down the group. Their atomic radius is actually having some abnormalities. Generally what we'll expect, boron to helium will increase, but gallium size is slightly lesser than aluminum. The reason for this is the poor shielding from the 3d10 electrons. The ionization energy is also maximum for boron and minimum for indium. Okay, but not for thallium. Next, electronegativity is highest for boron and least for aluminum. What is the reason? Again, the same reason. Some discrepancies, some changes in the atomic sizes. Next, their physical properties. Here, gallium is important. It is called a summer state liquid. So due to the maximum difference between melting and boiling points, we will make use of that in measuring high temperature in nuclear reactors. So boron will show +3 oxidation. Most of the compounds are covalent in nature. And boron halides BX3, they act as Lewis acids due to the incomplete octet. Okay, why they act as Lewis acid, guys? Due to incomplete octet, they accept pair of electrons, isn't it? They accept pair of electrons. That's how it acts as Lewis acid. So before donation, it is a sp2 trigonal planar. After donation, ammonia is attached to central boron atom, changes to sp3 tetrahedral geometry. Next here, boron trihalides. This is a very, very, very important concept, guys. Please revise this. So BF3 to BI3, the acidic nature, Lewis acidic character increases. What is the main reason for that? Due to the back bonding decreases, back donation. Due to the weak, very weak back bonding in BI3, it readily accepts another electron pairs from the donors. Next, AlCl3 and Al2Cl6. Al2Cl6 have the electron sufficient bond and 2 chlorines acts as bridge position. And before dimer formation, AlCl3 is having sp2 trigonal planar geometry, and formation of dimers changes into sp3 tetrahedral geometry. And here bridged ligands, okay, bond length is more than non-bridged chlorine aluminum bond length. Okay, look at this. Okay, bridged positions are pushed, okay, little away from the regular bond lengths. So that's what they have 221 and the non-bridged have 206. And here is how they are expanding their covalency. Here you can see that aluminum can form maximum, okay, 6 coordination, that is sp3d2 octahedral, and boron maximum is 4 only, that is sp3 tetrahedral. Okay guys, have you understood today's session? We understood today's class?
Yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Okay guys.
Sir, please send this note in the group now, sir.
Okay, you can text me. I cannot hear you properly. This mic is, okay, not very clear. Okay, you can text me personally. Okay, so in the tomorrow's class, probably we are going to finish it off. And we'll also start fourth group elements. Chalo then, thank you. Let's go for dinner. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye guys and girls.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, if you have any queries about this class, you can text me. I'm always ready to answer your questions.
Sir,
Thank you all
please
of
send
you.
the notes now, sir.
Okay, I'm signing off. Thank you all of you. Bye-bye.